Supreme King versus Crystal Beast. Does Crystal Beast stand a chance? Let's find out. Begin. You just have Ash Blossom, Crystal Bond, add a Crystal Beast from your deck to your hand. Rainbow Dragon is going to be adding an ultimate crystal monster from the deck to the hand. I don't think so. And special summon. So summon for the deck, +1 and then plus again. As we now instead set up with the Crystal Beast, Sapphire Pegasus, pass with the Advanced Crystal Beast Carbuncle. Now this is a form of disruption, the Crystal Miracle. Spell, trap, or monster effect. We're going to destroy a Crystal Beast we control, and if we do, negate that activation and destroy that card. We have the Dragon Shrine, chaining the Wings of Light to the Dragon Shrine as we send from the deck and search our deck. Come to us, Gate Magician. As you then send from the deck a Dark Worm. Dark Worm is going to be reborning from the graveyard here. Dark Worm also using its effect to search for a third copy of the Supreme Gate Magician, which you do want multiple copies, because we're going to activate to set up the Gate 0 for 1. And while we have the Gate 0, we can summon the other Supreme King Gate Magician onto the field as the Crystal Miracle negates and destroys that Supreme King Gate Magician. We have a dead Concerto. Concerto is going to be fusing with our Melodious monsters, including within our back row. Now, what is our follow-up play for Crystal Beast as we grab a Sapphire Pegasus? Sapphire Pegasus is going to be very easily setting up the Advanced Crystal Beast into our back row, or it's going to be the Rainbow one that summons the deck. We're grabbing an Advanced Dark Field Spell here. With the Advanced Dark Field Spell, it turns on all of the advanced versions of the Crystal Beast, the Dark Evil versions. We're going to Carbuncle Special Summon from the back row and the Sapphire setup an Advanced Dark into our back row as the Flame Banshee searches our deck for a Pyro. That Pyro is going to be our Nemesis Flag, which will return back a banished card. And now we're going to search our deck for a Nemesis Corridor, I believe. No, going straight for that Protos. We have Sapphire Pegasus setting up the Rainbow Dragon, which will banish to summon from the deck and search. That is definitely something you'd want to disrupt as we now make a Dugaris. Dugaris is going to be activating to detach 2, reborn from the graveyard. That is going to be giving up your main phase of the next turn. Well, we don't need a main phase of the next turn if this is the final turn. We're now making a Cross Sheep. If we summon a fusion monster where the Cross Sheep's pointing to, it's going to reborn to level 4 or lower. So we're going to summon a Rainbow Dragon to then summon the Rainbow Over Dragon to trigger the Cross Sheep to reborn from the graveyard to now make a King Boxer Dempsey. Searching our deck for a Fire Warrior. We have the Runick. Runick special summonable onto the field, making I Sold. I Sold is here. Search our deck for a Shield Bearer that we cannot use this turn, but we're going to send from the deck 1 equip spell to summon 1 monster to then return that equip spell from the grave to our hand. The golden rule, we now have it as we now turn this into a Saryuja. Saryuja. Draw 4, return 3, as we now preparation of right, searching for Illusion of Chaos. What step are we on? We on step 15 of 30, as we now search a Magician of Souls, returning the Illusion of Chaos back to then send the Illusion of Chaos to summon the Magician of Souls, which can now drop to 2 cards by sending 2 spell and or traps to the graveyard. As we now finally, I thought that was a Protos, that is not Protos, not yet. First, gonna make an Apollo USA. With the Apollo USA, we have a double negate on it, as we now make an Anaconda, which will turn off the ability to special summon for the rest of the turn. So first, we make our Protos. Now with Protos on the field, we can use our Anaconda effect. Nope, but first we're making an ultimate Crystal Rainbow Dragon Overdrive, as we now summon a Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. What is this field? This card is nuts. If this card is not battled this turn, you contribute this card to shuffle as many cards in the field as possible back in the deck and then special summon any number of your banished Crystal Beast monsters. We have our negate. We can, if we lock them out of fire, are we indestructible from our own Protos? Cannot be destroyed by our own card effects also. So Protos called Dark, it is fine. We're going to use Dragoon to pop it, and just like that, 21,000 damage. Cross out Designator, Infinite Impermanence, Banish from the deck. Societia, holy moly. Very well done. Absolute insanity, and I love it. Dragon Shrine, send from the deck our Dark Worm. Dark Worm, reborn from the graveyard. Dark Worm, grab a second copy of our Gate Magician. The first Gate Magician will set up the Gate 0. Now, unfortunately, we just have Carbuncles in the hand. 300 attack. Field Spell can't be used. Crystal Bond can't be used. Droplet can't be used. Carbuncle's a level 3, so we can't turn it into an Anima. We're going to exceed the Pendulum with the quick effect of reborning from the grave or summoning from the hand. Gate Magician trigger, searching for the Wings of Light. To battle we go. We're just... Okay, maybe this is actually a good idea, right? Set up in the back row? No. Well, all right. Let's go to game 3. Societia. What do we have here? Preparation of Rites. We do have our Ash Blossom. As we now use the Illusion of Chaos to search for a Magician's Souls. Magician's Souls, send from the deck the Illusion of Chaos to come forth. We're going for a draw 2. Draw 1 instead of 2, right? Yeah, so we definitely don't want to negate a draw 1. We got to make sure which effect it's using. Into Avert to Anaconda. Now, Anaconda sends a fusion spell from the deck to the grave. It also will copy a fusion effect that sends monsters from the deck to the grave. And Ash Blossom states that if your opponent's sending a card from the deck to the grave, this can negate. The problem is, Ash can't negate Anaconda whatsoever. It can't negate the effect of sending the fusion spell because it sends it by cost. And it can't negate the effect of the fusion spell, which is sending from the deck to the grave, because Ash only sees the effect of copying a fusion spell. It's not an effect that's going to send from the deck to the grave. It's an effect that copies a fusion spell. And that is not sending from the deck to the grave, thus you can't negate. That's it. There you go. So very clearly used an effect that sends from the deck. Can't Ash, because it's actually an effect to copy an effect. As we now have, very simply, just our Red Eyes Dark Dragoon, which will be able to discard a card, negate and destroy. We also have Ash Blossom. I don't think the Call of the Grave is going to be that good here, possibly. Well, actually, Dragon Shrine, well, it will get fingered. We then follow up with Foolish Burial, but the Dark Worm will still be fingered and negated. So I will count the Call of the Grave as a form of disruption. We have 3 to play through, and again, the Concerto is dead, a card that I believe we're just playing one of. Let's see. Dragon Shrine, Ash Blossom, negate. So someone in the chat saying the Dragoon is misplaced. That is reasonable to say that, as if they have an Anima, they could get sucking on it. Negate the Dragon Shrine mate. We have 2 more disruption. Foolish Burial. I don't know why we would negate a Dragon Shrine if we have a finger. Just finger whatever they send, right? What are we saving the finger for? This is what you would have done. And then they follow up Foolish. They can't Dark Worm again. The one finger dealt with the Foolish and the Dragon Shrine. So now we just have our 1 negate on Dragoon. And if the negate is not good enough, it also cannot be targeted and cannot be destroyed by card effects. It can be destroyed by battle. We have the Melodious Maestra summoning from the deck the Songstress to now grab the Couplet. Couplet's going to trigger summoning itself onto the field, or not summoning itself, but reborning a Refrain or summoning another Melodious that's not itself from the hand onto the field. As now make a Little Knight. Little Knight does not deal with Dragoon. We are going to banish from the opposing player's graveyard the Awakening of Crystal Ultimates. Sure. The Bacho Incense of the Grave is going to reborn a Melodious, as we are just using the Little Knight to link climb up into the Exceed the Pendulum. So a lot of people are wondering, what is the out to Dragoon? How do you out Dragoon? And the best out that most people play inherently is an Access Code Talker. You activate Access Code Talker on summon, Dragoon cannot negate it. Now, you don't banish a card to pop Dragoon, you just attack over it. So that's it. If you can make this, you are golden. Exceed the Pendulum, come to us Refrain. But we make an Apollo instead, because we are instead of using Access Code Talker to deal with this specifically, and then we lose our battle phase, we would like to maintain our battle phase and make another play with our Concerto, right? And our Refrain and Couplet. So instead of outing Dragoon specifically, we have Apollo sitting on top of the Dragoon, pinning Dragoon down from being able to negate. We're going to be triggering the refrain and couplet, set itself back up as pendulum scales. Sure. So I'm assuming we're having another card that's going to be outing the Dragoon instead. 3,300. That's an out to Dragoon. There's also another confusing aspect to the Dragoon. Some people may be saying, I negated with Dragoon and I didn't gain attack. Why is the game bugged? It's only if you destroy that card. So if you negate an Ash Blossom, is Dragoon going to gain attack? No. It has to be in the same spot where it activated in order for you to destroy it. And if it's activating in the grave, you can't destroy a card in the grave. Electromite is here. As we now use Dragoon to negate, but Apollo will negate the negates. Negate the Dragoon. Now from here, I mean, we could still make an access code talker if we want. Let's Electromite pop after we set up the Astrograph to grab the Astrograph to trigger to draw a card, trigger the Astrograph to summon itself onto the field. Come forth. Too late on the negate. You know, you could definitely say that. As we now Sprite Elf, get the Absolute Dragon into the graveyard to then trigger its effect to summon an Omni Negate. Where's that effect? There it is. Come forth. Target an attack position monster, returns the hand, can't target the Dragoon. We're going to pop our back row, add an extra deck monster, we don't draw again. What does this do? What? What? Add an Earth Insect? You're just adding Max C? Okay, there's still a Dragoon though. I guess the Vortex Dragon deals with Dragoon? Sure. You activate, we negate. Search Max C, mate. Gotcha. Interesting. We're going to Elf, Reborn the Little Knight. To battle we go. Take out the Apollo USA. We're going to activate the pop, forcing out the effect of the Vortex Dragon to negate. Now, we could have negated the negate if we wanted to mate. We chose to not do so. We could just use the effect again to get poppin'. Little Knight is going to dodge the effect of Dragoon, banishing itself plus the Vortex Dragon. Goodbye to Sprite Elf, burn for 1,400. Now, again, access code talker to simply out the Dragoon. And we do have a negate for the negate. That's another way to deal with it, where instead of having to make an access code talker, just simply set up something to pin down the Dragoon, then make other plays. As we now exceed the pendulum. Exceed the pendulum is going to be attempted to be negated as we Dragoon negate, chain the Vortex Dragon to negate the negate. Negate the Dragoon. We have to have a face-up pendulum to even use our negate of the Vortex Dragon as we now grab the refrain. Set up refrain and the couplet. We're now going to be reborning from the grave the Astrograph, popping with Electromite to add an extra deck refrain, randomly drawn to an Ostinato, as we now make a Beyond the Pendulum. Beyond the Pendulum, search in our deck for the Supreme Dragon Lightworm. Someone earlier was saying that you should definitely negate the Ostinato. It's high risk and high reward. Ostinato is played at 3 in this deck, I believe, even though we are teching in Melodious. And Ostinato is not like Branded Fusion. Branded Fusion, only one can be used in a turn. So if you Ash a Branded Fusion and they add it back, they can't use it. But Ostinato, you Ash it, you negate it in any way, they will just use another Ostinato that you have to be very careful about. So while it seems like a good idea to negate the Ostinato, you do have to consider that second or third copy possibly already in the hand. Again, we're not outing the Dragoon. Leave out the Dragoon. Baguska keeping it in defense. Turn it off for a turn. Now we're going to have to put Baguska into attack position. We just need more than 2,500 attack to deal with this. Let's finally access code talker. You can't change the access code talker, but boosting, even if the Dragoon were an attack and even if it negated and boosted once, a 4,000 attack access code talker still outs it. As we now Ignister Prominence, activating to summon a monster from the deck, and we are going to Vortex Negate. Now, I think we're actually using the Prominence effect to shuffle, non-target shuffle the Dragoon back in the deck. Is that the effect? Yep, there you go. Destroy it if you do. Shuffled, non-targeting. Back into the deck you go. Lethal damage. Spellcaster Village Pendulums. Pretty damn good. Supreme King Melodious. That's what we would call this. All right. All right, let's get to it. Let's do it. This was within the tournament. Game 3, begin. Popular searching. We do not play as much hand traps as other decks, I'm sure. I think we still have room for at least Maxi and Ash, maybe not in permanence. Flame Burst is going to be equipping the Volcanics. Now, what is good here? We can use the Flame Burst to summon the Volcanics in the back row, to then pop the Flame Burst to then search our deck for, let's say, a Kirin. Or we could even search, instead of the Kirin, we could search for an Arvata, which would be really good. I think Arvata would be the best play. And then with the Arvata, we could summon it onto the field through the Runick, which will also pop a card in the field, so that's 2 disruption. And then we have the effect of Promethean Princess, which will pop on special summon. And then we have the Quadra Negate of the Apollo-SA. So from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 disruption. We have the Amble Whale, which will destroy a card in the field. That's 8 disruption. We have Forbidden Droplet, which is 9 disruption. Have I missed a form of disruption? Or they only have 9? Just 9. 9 disruption. Let's go. Negate with the Apollo-SA. Flash Fire. If you do not reduce your attack on resolution, you don't negate, so you can wait for them to activate and then chain pop it. We just lost 4 disruption. We're now down to 5. From 9 to 5, that 1 Flash Fire, we did lose our battle phase. A good thing to do, to always think about if you're going second with Runick cards, is enter the battle phase. On your very first chance to do so, you could summon a Gary in attack position and get swinging. Gary, swing in, and then on destruction, you get to pop a card in the field. Come forth Huggin. In response to the Flame Burst, summoning the Volcanics. We have Huggin triggering to discard the Smiting Storm, searching for our limited 1 field spell. Forbidden Droplet is going to negate the Cartesia and the Huggin. We're going to chain Runick Tip, chain Cartesia. Woo! This was a spicy play. What is happening here is you cannot chain Cartesia to the Droplet because if you send a monster, you can't chain with a monster effect. So what we had to do was chain a spell to the Droplet, then chain Cartesia to our own spell because we couldn't chain to the Droplet, and the spice is not done. The Droplet is negating 2 monsters. But if you have less than the cards they sent to the grave, it negates nothing. It doesn't negate up to 2. So by Cartesia fusing with the Huggin into 1 body, the new 1 body will not get Forbidden Dropleted as the Huggin is successfully searching for the field spell and the Cartesia is not negated. The Droplet is doing nothing. Let's go. Use it up. Into our Grand Granule, which will not be negated by the Droplet. Tip into the Curses. We're also going to get the field spell soon. Banishing a 1 of 2 Kirins off the top of the deck. Pop in the Amble Whale, grab our Vata. Exactly what I was saying that you should be doing here. And then we got Fountain plus Curses. We have to trigger the Fountain to draw 3. Grand Granule is triggering, Garunix is triggering. We have the Amble Whale triggering to Reborn the Doolittle. As we also have Flame Burst reborning 2 level 1 fires. What's going to happen here is we're going to destroy a card on the field. Right now. We didn't wait for the Runick Fountain. We, at this moment, off of a card being destroyed, we wanted to use that Garunix. As we then pop a Kirin from the deck to not only take out the Grand Granule, we're also going to summon an Arvata, which will be able to negate a monster effect. Holy, we don't want to curse that because the Runick Fountain needs to be face up on the field to get that draw 3 effect. And just as I said, we pop the Kirin, summon Arvata with our monster negates. Goodbye to the Grand Granule. Now, what do we have left? We have a monster negate, we have the Amble Whale, and we have Promethean Princess. We're at triple disruption still. We're going to Freezing Curses. Never chain your Runick spell to your Runick Fountain. Now, if you're an opposing player, you want to trick them to use their Runick cards. Let's say they activate Fountain, you chain an effect that they would want to chain a Runick card to. Because the Fountain did not resolve, it would not draw 3 cards. We're going to be negating the Arvata preemptively, so we're now down to 2 disruption. Here we go. Draw 3, return 3, Magna Hut, banishing from the opposing player's graveyard the Diablo Star. We're going to be triggering the Promethean Princess, taking out the Doolittle. We're We're going to call by the Grave Finger the Promethean Princess. This was going to not only take out Magna Hut, but also destroy the Runick Fountain. Now, we could have chained the Runick Dispelling to summon a Hug and to protect the fountain from being destroyed, but we don't even have to do that. Goodbye, Promethean. We just have Amble Whale. And the Amble Whale is super conditional. How are we going to trigger Amble Whale? It was supposed to be off the Doolittle being destroyed by Promethean to trigger the Amble Whale to pop a card in the field. We have Bishop Lubellion setting up the Brand of Regained, dispelling, special summoning a Huggin to now turn this into a Little Knight on summon, banish a card on the field or in the grave. We are going for the field spell, which will now wipe out the entire opposing field, which will now be... Ooh. So we purposely chose... I do not want the Amble Whale to trigger because we are about to trigger the Amble Whale and the Doolittle effect. If destroyed, you can target a fire in your graveyard and add it to the hand. So now you don't get that effect as your field now gets wiped out. Wipe it after we banish. We do have our Vata effect, though, to reborn a negated Garunix. And the negated Garunix will be destroyed during the end phase, which will then summon during the next turn to then destroy all other monsters on the field. Setting up Snake-Eye Diablo-Star, which will be rebornable from the back row. Grand Granole being triggered because you summoned a monster through a monster effect. Brand of Regain because a card is banished. We're going to return it back to now draw one. Or no, that's the effect of you summoned. I get to summon a Bestial from the grave. A Letter Dark has not been banished yet. Now it has the Grand Granole. Now we're going to draw. As now Guiding Quem send from the deck. Sending from the deck a Golden Sword Soul. We got our Ash Blossom now, turning the field into a Chang Ying. Chang Ying is here, waiting for an effect to banish. Well, what do all the Runick cards do? They secondarily, in addition to their main effect, they banish a card off the top, which triggers the Chang Ying to banish a card on the field and in the grave. A huge card to banish, which could be an auto-win in most cases, is banishing their one of Garunix. Now, in this instance, maybe we want to change our mind because we already randomly banished a Kirin. We know the card is semi-limited. The final Kirin is in grave. If we banish that final Kirin, no more Kirin plays. Got Baldrake during the end phase through the effect of the Magna Hut. Add back the Cartesia during the end phase. So it's worth noting. What did they end on? They ended on 9 disruptions. We flash fired to take off 4. Then we had to deal with 5 disruptions afterward. And now it looks like we are absolutely clapping up this duel. We have Runick Tip in the draw phase. Is this an early trigger of the Chang Ying? Field spell and Chang Ying. Chang Ying. Chang Ying. Let's go. Banish the Doolittle. Now we have Forbidden Droplet. Now Forbidden Droplet, what did it send? It sent a spell. Because you sent a spell, I could chain Little Knight to your Droplet to dodge your banishment. I'm going to be banishing the Chimera and the Chang Ying. Chang Ying will now not be negated. We could banish the Diablo Star and engrave. Do we go for the Kirin or the Garunix? Diablo Star, Garunix. One of Garunix is now gone for good. As we draw 3, we have 8 cards in our hand. Regained hasn't even drawn for the turn yet. We have Garunix reborning during the standby phase as it was destroyed by the Avatar during the last turn, triggering the Amble Whale. So we have been continually doing the same thing. We've been stopping, blocking the Amble Whale from triggering because the Doolittle was the card that wanted to be destroyed to trigger the Papa card in the field with the Amble Whale. Now, the Little Knight is that link 3 or lower that's triggering the Amble Whale to pop a card in the field. But we could chain summon a Huggin to protect our one of Fountain. And that's exactly what we're doing. Summon a Huggin, protect from the destruction. Or just add it back with Gary. Sure. So Huggin or Gary both work out here. We're actually out of Huggin. Huggins are gone. No more Huggin. The Golden Sword Soul is triggering because a card was banished face up, a monster that is, to reborn a Quem from the grave or summon from the hand. Quem on summon is going to be sending from the deck as we use a Fire King Skybird, get poppin'. Take out that Quem as we send from, I don't know why we really had to even do that. I think we're kind of flailing here. We're going to summon Eponyx, triggering the Regain to reborn the Magna Hut. Magna Hut, every time it's summoned, it will be searching for a dragon during the end phase. Oak on summon, reborn from the grave. We are severely out of juice here. What is going on? Now we have a disruption through Baldrake. If they summon a monster from the action deck, we tribute off the Magna Hut or the Gary. We then banish that monster. How do we deal with that? We also drawn another card. We have Ash Blossom to negate the Oak. So we could banish the Sunlight Wolf if we want to. Are we going to? Yes, we are. Banish, the wolf. Goodbye to Link 2. Then Ash is ready and waiting for the Oak activation. Now, negating Oak with Ash is not that big of a deal, not being able to summon from the deck, because we are triggering the Flame Burst to reborn 2 level 1 fires. That's going to be another beneficial effect. Let's trigger it. Let's Flame Burst, reborn the Ponix. But what could Ponix even search for at this point? We already went through the Skyburn. We went through the Flower King Island. We don't have Garunix anymore. 2 of our Karens in the grave. Their tank went down to 0. So I would say in this instance, a third Karen probably would not have won the duel, but it is a great example of when you reduce a card like Karen from 3 to 2, it does reduce the gas. Nicely done, Daradurn. Thank you for that duel. Good job, good job.